Today we're going to dive into problem solving. And we define problem solving by the process of finding solutions to difficult or complex issues. Here we look at basic steps of problem solving, right? So we will say problem solving is the ability to seek out any logical solution to that complex problem, and we are going to have the capacity or the ability to evaluate the information and try and predict a future outcome. We're also going to have the ability to calmly problem solve, right? Without making things worse. And that goes back to, what we talked about last week with flexibility. One, we want to know the problem. So we want to have awareness. It is a must to recognize and understand the problem properly. Many individuals take decisions and they don't even think about the later issues. So sometimes because of jumping into situations without having an understanding, it's a cause for big problems later on. So it's vital that we define the situation or the problem first, right? And if we sit back and we consider various options or facts or opportunities, when we forget to simply relate to the situation with the facts, if you've seen them closely, then you will realize that those are not problems, but some of the facts of life. Also, asking other people who are directly or indirectly involved with the problem can take the best possible opportunity to solve the problem more effectively. So if we also see every situation from a different angle, so if we're seeing it from a different angle, we may find a better solution. And it might be possible that the way that you're looking at a situation is totally different because every issue can be seen differently. It solely depends upon the way you're seeing the problem and the solution for it. If we're finding the best basic or the root cause of the problem, right? So if we're asking ourselves what could be the cause of the problem and then start finding out the solution simultaneously, it really is imperative to find the symptom about any issue and offer a good solution, right? But we also need to have alternative solutions. So alternative solutions can closely be smart move of a problem solver, because if you're carrying out various solutions for a common problem, then it will surely give you ease to choose the right one. It will automatically increase your problem solving ability and make you stand with confidence in front of whoever you are saying, hey, I was able to solve this, whether it's your team, whether it's your family, whoever it might be. Keeping the best solution at the top of your list. So when you have a bunch of different solutions for the problem, but you know that there's just going to be one that's going to be the most effective or the most smart. So making the proper list, and then figuring out which one's going to be best. So that vision and planning, not planting. I can't talk today, I'm sorry. So now we take on that proper and correct decision making, and we've made that list. We've done that vision and planning, and we're trying to implement it, and we're choosing, which one of these is best, and check it once, check it twice, and it's always beneficial to take important decisions by taking your time. So take the maximum amount of time to make sure that that list and vision that you've made is going to give you the best possible outcome. And then it's also okay to assign responsibility when you're ready with the solution, and when it's time to take that responsibility to the right person who can, carry out the final solution or effectively dealing with it, whether that's you or someone else. um, making sure that assigned responsibility is who has the most skill, right? And then how are you evaluating those results, right? What is that final reflection? Not only do you reflect at the beginning, but you also reflect at the end. Like, what was the outcome? How did the decisions and the steps that I took lead me to where I am now? Was I flexible? Was I using my core values? Was it causing me stress while I was doing this? All of those things come into play here when reflecting and making yourself aware while you're gathering the information, analyzing it, the vision and planning, the implementing, the assigning of responsibilities. All those things can cause other things to come into play. And that's how these all intertwine with this mind, body, mental fitness. And so understanding that the evaluation step at the end is really key to knowing, like, if if I am using all these skills I've been given, I should feel relaxed and I should know that the decision I have made is the best one. This one's fun because it's like a game, right? It really is just a practical example and exercises. And these are things that you can cut them out, you can do them with other people, you can do them as a team event. Do whatever you can to just practice practical problem skills every day. So here we can say the store you work at has the best shirts. You want one. What should you do? I mean, that's so realistically easy in my mind, but for somebody else, it may not be. So, problem solving that, you know, what are you going to do? Because there may be a conflict there because one, they work there. Two, can they buy it while they're on the clock or do they have to wait? Things like that. So taking this game, and you can make up your own scenarios based on things that have maybe previously happened in your own office or in your own life. Use them with your kids. This is a great tool to just do practical problem solving skill techniques. Realistic expectations. We all have those, right? Because we know that we're faced with something every day that we have to solve. Every day. Waking up, getting out of bed. That's a problem. Some mornings. Some mornings it's not. Some mornings it's you don't want to go home from work because you know that I don't know, your kid got in trouble at school and you don't want to go home and deal with it. Um, just know that it gets easier when you realize that they're just simple choices. Like it's just going back to those basic steps and how am I going to deal with this when it comes time. And there really should be nothing scary about them other than having to decide. And again, no matter the job or where you live or who your partner is, how many friends you have, you are going to be judged on your ability to solve problems, right? I know that I am judged daily. I won't say daily, but it feels like that. When I hear, especially from, you know, a spouse or a partner, even my own kids, when they say, you give an expectation or you give a directive, but then you fail at implementing it or seeing it through. And I am so bad about that. I am. I am. I'm like, you're grounded. And then, you know, the next day, like, I forget I did it. Like, my life is just that busy. So I know I'm going to be judged. I know I am. And that's okay because when it comes to the bigger things, I feel like I'm able to use these basic steps and get myself through those. But also knowing that problems equal hassles, and it is a hassle. Like, it's a hassle for me to have to remember that I grounded my kid for whatever reason, or that I told them to take out the trash, and now I'm headed to work the next morning and it's not at the curb. Things like that. Like, those are hassles. And we don't like hassles because they're more of a problem you can solve, the less hassle all around, right? So if we can solve them, the less hassles. That's what I like to tell my kids. So there are importance of problem solving skills, right? And understanding that a problem is something that is hard to understand or accomplish or to deal with. And um, it's anything from a task, a situation, even a person. And sometimes when it comes to people, that's even harder. Problem solving involves, those methods and those skills that we talked about, finding the best solutions. It's important because we have to have decisions to make and to question the answers in our lives, right? So problem solving skills are really everyday life tasks. Um, and when we understand that with every decision that we make, at first it starts out maybe switching and being flexible and changing it to, hey, it's not a problem, but it's a choice, it might make it easier to solve. Enhancing our skills, right? So when you understand the different steps to solve problems, you will be able to produce solutions. That's how we enhance our skills. When we figure out our basic steps in problem solving, because for everybody they are totally different, we enhance our skills. We make ourselves better in the problem solving process because we have taught ourselves basic steps, basic skills, everyday life abilities to help us not have that hassle moment that we are all dreading. So we talk a little bit more about enhancing skills, right? Because we are all dreading that hassle that comes. So again, we're focusing on the solutions. It's not the problem, right? It's, again, being flexible, changing that wording from problem to choice. We're making it a little bit simpler. We're thinking laterally. We're using language that creates possibility. List out as many solutions as possible. Neuroscience scientists have said that the brain cannot find solutions if you focus on the problem, right? So, and this is because you focus on the problem. You're effectively feeding negativity, which in turn activates negative emotions in the brain. And these emotions block potential solutions. So, if we are constantly feeding negative, how are we going to feed that positive? And I'm not saying that we should ignore a problem, but instead try to remain calm. And it helps us acknowledge the problem and then move our focus to a solution oriented mindset where we keep fixed on the answer. Could it be rather than focusing on what went wrong or whose fault it is? So by asking questions, why on the problem, you can dig into the root cause of the problem. And that's how you can find the best solution to tackle that root problem once and for all. And it can go deeper than just asking why. And as humans, we have a tendency to make things more complicated than they really need to be. So when we simplify our problem, we're basically generalizing it and we remove details and we go back to the basics. So it makes it just a little bit easier to find an obvious solution when we simplify the things that are going on around us. And in turn, you may be just a little bit surprised by the results. And we all know that it's often the simple things that are the most productive, right? Work smarter, not harder. Let's summarize a little bit. Let's remember that it's not scary to have quote unquote problems. It's the ability to adapt proper skills, right? Approaching problems naturally, learning that even with judgment, like, don't worry about it. It's without judgment. It doesn't matter what people think or say or how you're doing it, but the fact that you are doing it. So when you're practicing defining that problem and using, your skills of flexibility and meditation and keeping calm and remembering not to make things more complicated than what they really are. Understanding that problems tell us something is not currently working. So when you understand what's not currently working, you'll be able to find a new way or a new solution. So doing that language of it's not a problem, it's an eventual outcome. It's not a problem, it's a choice. I choose to get up and go to work today. I choose to take my kids to 20 different sports. I choose to make an hour long dinner instead of doing something that only takes me 15. It's not a problem, it's just my choice. And how am I going to work to make it fit? And if you view the problem for what it really is, it just requires, just a little bit of feedback, right? So just understanding that we're not scared, we're adapting, we're using those basic skills, we're using what we know as basic skills. We are using our own toolbox. What do we have in our own? We don't have to use what somebody else gave us or what somebody else told us, but how do our own values, how do our own stress resiliency techniques help us? How does being flexible, how am I flexible in my life? All of those things work together to help you become a better problem solver. I always love resources. So the Happy Manager had some great tools that you could use, and so I just put the whole thing up there. You can get on and you search through it, take what you want, or don't at all. It's fine. And then there were some different books on problem solving. The first one came up of Daring Greatly, and that is by Brene Brown. But if you scroll through them to the right, it brings other books up. And I'm a big book reader. I love Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. It's very powerful, and I believe if you read it, it gives you a sense of power, and it really, really, really allows you to be changed in the way you think and the way you perceive yourself, and how even through all of these things that we talked about for the past 5 weeks, um, with Dare to Lead, it helped me see how I could be as a leader in being flexible, being using my own values, um, using a lot of self-talk, things like that. And then, of course, I love TED Talks too. So a recipe for problem solving, but you can get on there and search your own and find what works for you. Do a listen on your way to work.